At Womentum, we know that success breeds success. So we are proud to help build the momentum of every woman's journey to success. We call it Womentum, because the momentum you generate is formidable. And when we join forces, our momentum is unstoppable. Womentum, here for every woman's journey to success.
Hello to all our listeners and a very, very warm welcome to She Owns Her Success. My name is Nozipho Mbanjwa. What an absolute pleasure to be the host of this series of conversations. It's conversations about women telling their own stories of success, telling us about how they have broken barriers, how they have redefined what it means to be a woman for generations to come, and of course, telling us how they have overcome adversity and fears and even structural barriers to be where they are today. This is a 4-part series, so I'm hoping that you're going to be joining us throughout the series and just leaning into the celebration of these incredible women that are going to be joining me. You know, a beautiful place for us to start, given that, we're here because of She Owns Her Success, is just by reflecting on what does success mean for us? And maybe let me start with you, Aya. When someone says Aya is successful, what does that mean for you?
Success for me means the ability to do what I do. I have shown people that what I'm capable of, and I think that's a success for me.
What I'm hearing you saying is it's about being able to live into the thing that you have decided that this is what I'm in this world for, and to do it at the best of your ability. Ndoni, you are constantly described as a young, successful woman, a young, successful black woman. When you hear those words, what resonates for you in your heart?
Fear. I think, well, guys, take it easy. I'm still figuring it out. And the question of success is very challenging for young people. And I think it becomes challenging because where do we start? What we see on media, what we see on, what we portray and the real story, the behind the scenes are two different worlds.
Sure.
And I think, so when someone says, Ndoni, successful, I'm just like, sit with me in my room and figure out, what are the demons I have? What are the challenges? What are the fears that I need to overcome? And how do I overcome them?
I love that, because what I'm hearing you saying is that there is the public success, and that oftentimes others are happy to even own on our behalf. But as women, a lot of the work has to do with how do we own and claim our success internally, because we know the hours we put in behind our work, we know what it takes to get where we are. And so how do we get to that place where when somebody says you're so successful, it lands comfortably, and it doesn't land with fear or any trepidation. So we're going to come back to that, and I think it's a great point that you make. Anna, when you are seen as a woman redefining and creating space in a male-dominated industry, and people say you're successful.
That's one of the words that they use, and also an overachiever. That's a big one that they always use.
And is that a negative or positive connotation for you?
For me, you know what? I'm not a superwoman. I wish I was a superhuman. I'm just a normal human person. But what success is putting in that hard work.
Lovely.
It's as simple as being a great mom as well. It can be so many things on how you see it. And like you said, fear, demons, and so forth. But it comes down to as simple as putting in the hard work. And I promise you, persevere, don't give up on yourself, believe in yourself, and you will see the success.
Sure. I think the thing to underscore what I'm hearing you saying is that we have different parameters where we show up as women, and we can be successful in those different ways. Be successful just as a mom, be successful as a career woman, be successful even as a wife or a partner or a girlfriend.
Well, that's a big one.
But what I'm hearing that's quite beautiful is the humility that you're all coming into this conversation with. And I'm going to get to that, because sometimes there's this idea that owning your success is counter being humble. And I'm not sure we buy into that idea. Charlotte, you're clearly a successful woman. When people point that out to you, what does it mean for you?
So I love the choice of words, demons. I'll first start off by saying that for me, success is failure turned inside out. You know, it's two sides of the same coin. For you, sometimes you've got to fail to be successful, and sometimes you're successful and you still fail.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when people say you're a successful woman, part of the insight that drives the hashtag She Owns Her Success campaign is the fact that research tells us that even if you're a female CEO, you are still fearful about publicly claiming your success, and that the most junior of male counterparts in the same organization that serves, your narrative, whether you're a JSE listed entity or not, is far more bolder in asking for a pay raise, or when you're in discussions regarding your performance is quite blatant in saying, but I've done A, B, C, and D, so I'm expecting E, F, and G.
Yeah.
And it was that insight that drove us, because although we are the women behind saying, hey, women out there in South Africa, own your success, share your success, shatter barriers, give your success momentum, I find even as early as this morning, I fall into that trap where I'm scared to tell people, I'm scared to tell you of my successes.
I had to pick them out of you, right?
Yeah, when you were preparing to quickly get on set, you said what are you successful for? And I was scared to tell you, and I was like, but Charlotte, how can you be a hypocrite? Because you're telling the rest of the country, own your success, and here you've been given this moment where you can own it. And I love that epiphany. Because although, yes, we're the brains and I'm part of the team that is pushing this narrative out, there are still maybe some social norms and cultural barriers that I haven't unearthed in myself. And that's why I like the word demons.
I want to pause on that point of psychosocial, because remember, we're all socialized, right? Coming from the way we were raised, how we were raised, the conversations that we're having around us actually have a lot to do with whether we are able to publicly claim that we're successful or not. And perhaps the question I want to bring to you ladies now is, has the definition of success changed over the generations for women? And I want to link this to today. Does it matter that we tell stories and share stories where we talk about being successful? Does it influence generations in any way? Whose success stories influenced us? And maybe, Anna, let me come to you with that first. Do you think that the definition of success has changed over time?
It has, definitely, but I think it's also very, very important to share your story. Why? Because a lot of women that's walking this road can feel alone. When they're facing these massive giants.
Yeah.
And if you're not sharing your story, they won't be able to relate and say, yes, well, you know what, Charlotte did it. She got through that.
Yeah.
And I can relate to it, and I want to walk in her footsteps. And it's a brilliant example. And that's why She Owns Her Success. That's why we are actually asking for people to share more of their successes.
Whose story were you following? Which woman had a successful existence, if you will, a successful lived experience that you looked at her or heard her story and you were like, that's what I want to do?
It was definitely Dr. Judy Dlamini, and she's now the Vice Chancellor of Wits University. Coincidence that I'm also there. But more than anything, it wasn't really about her titles and all the achievements. It was about her shaking the industry and not doing what a normal doctor is supposed to do.
Right.
And she decided, you know what, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I want to push, and this is the avenue that I want to take. And she defined it for herself by herself. And I think for me, that really opened up my mind to say, am I thinking of success or myself in a box?
Yeah.
And am I putting myself into this category, as you're saying, that says this is how I should be, this is how I should roll? Or am I listening to people? Am I listening to society?
Yes.
And so then her story for me was very moving in encouraging me to say, what are the things that I'm scared of addressing or actually doing? And it brought out my organization.
Sure, and I think that's incredible, because on the one hand you're saying, there's society tells us who we should be and who we shouldn't be, but every now and then there's a woman that steps up and says, actually, I'm going to define my own path. Actually, I'm going to go that way. Actually, maybe society is signaling me this way, but I'm going to take that route instead. And those deviations from the norm stand out for us, and we see them and we connect with them and we hear them as stories of success and we latch onto them. I want to know, You know, when you started off in your earlier answer, you said success for you is really just about being able to do what you want to do. How were you influenced? Who influenced you that made you believe that you could have your own pathway to success and that you didn't have to follow the route that society might have been pointing to you to say, this way is the road down to success?
To be honest with me, it was hard. I played with the boys most of the time. I was the only girl in the team that time, you know. But to be honest, I only looked to one person, which that time it was Makaya, because cricket was only meant for the guys. But with the passion that I had for the game, I stick to the game. I didn't know anything about the women's game that time until I was 15, I think. That's why I know that there was this side of the game, and that's where my game started. You know, that's where my interest started to be more, to want to be part of this amazing thing. But to be honest, I've been in this journey without knowing that it's been there. But I enjoy it more than anything.
I want to stay with you because I think what you've just shared with us is incredible, that the journey to success is not a journey filled with lots of people along the way. Sometimes we don't have the pointers in the right direction. Sometimes you're just following your heart and you're following your purpose. How do you feel about the fact that there are now other young girls, because of you, who are now saying, actually, I can be a cricketer? How does that make you feel?
To be honest, it's a blessing. I don't wanna lie. Like I grew up in the villages, you know. Now the girls, they know it's possible. Anything that you want is possible. It's not about the sport. If it's a male-dominated industry, even it's possible. I think the women that have been successful in those industries have shown the girls out there anything is possible. It's not about what the society say. It's all about what you want as a person.
It's not about what society says. It's all about what you want as a person. I don't think I could have put it better myself. So I want us to transition from this idea of wrapping our heads around the definition of success and how it's evolved. I want to get into action. Right, and the kind of things that women like yourselves are now doing. And Charlotte, I think since the crowning of Miss Universe with Zozibini, this phrase of taking up space and taking up space in your respective field is just become so much louder. What is your sense around the world just rolling up its sleeves and really beginning to take serious action when it comes to listening to women and acknowledging their successes? Do you think we're gaining more momentum in that regard?
I definitely think we're gaining more momentum in that regard. Take up space was a hashtag, but it really became a purpose for many of us. And I thought you were going to ask me, who do you look up to? So I was like, Charlotte, think of an answer. I thought, okay, I'm going to hit her with Michelle Obama. I was like practicing. But I must take a moment just before I answer the question and say, for me, I'm so teary-eyed as I sit here because when I heard your story, Ndoni, about who you look up to, because I have a mathematical statistics background. I've been in science, and at the time, 10, 15 years ago, there was no one with me, and I was alone, and I left that path because I had no enthusiast pushing me, saying you can do it. So when I hear of your organization, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad someone picked up the baton. I feel like I'm living through you, through your purpose. And then secondly, in terms of the village life, I haven't been there in 1,000 moons, but I know what it means to be underprivileged and not to think your world can expand. So whenever somebody's unexpected and they break the mold, I feel, yes, somebody's taken the baton. So it all speaks to this take up space phenomenon. I am for the underdog, I'm for the underprivileged, I'm for the person that's not spoken for. That's why in the space I occupy, I shake boardrooms, I stand firm, I run the show, and I'm proud of it because I know that somebody else was not able to pick up this boardroom baton. Now it's my turn. I have to run the race. I've got to, fight the good fight, so to speak. But I also know in fighting this good fight that men and women cannot live without each other. Right. And so I want to bring out this philosophy. There's a hashtag called Take Up Space, which, yes, has been amplified. My hashtag or my purpose would be, how do we show that men and women are beautifully different but equally capable? If I do that, then I know that I'm taking up space, but that I'm doing a good thing.
We have had an incredible conversation in week 1. We're continuing it in week 2. I look forward to another incredible conversation. I hope that you're going to stay with us for it too.